My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. And today we are going to be going over my mid-year favorites. So we are now halfway through 2021, and there have been a lot of makeup purchases. So I started going through everything that I purchased in 2021 and what my favorite products were and everything. And there's a lot. So I decided, this is really going to be the best of the best. I'm trying to narrow it down as much as possible so I won't have too many options. We're going to go category by category. But when I was going through and figuring out what my favorite products were, I did realize that some of my very favorite items that I reach for over and over are not from purchases made this year. So I will have a part 2 video with favorites, including things that are from previous years. So this one here, we'll just talk about things purchased during 2021. And then for part 2, we'll talk about some favorites from previous, like previous collections, previous years, and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with primer, and my favorite primer purchase for 2021 is the Dior Forever Skin Veil Primer. I am a little picky about primers. There are only really 2 that I can say that I really love. This is one of those 2, so I'm very, very happy to have found this. If you have dry skin, this is very moisturizing. It also has SPF in it. It's broad spectrum SPF 20. And this, I just think it's such a fantastic primer. I use a separate sunscreen, so the SPF doesn't affect me one way or another. But if my skin is feeling a little bit dry or I want a slightly dewier look, I can put this on, and I have had absolutely 0 compatibility issues with any foundation or base product that I put over this. You don't even have to put anything over this. If you're looking for something just to kind of give your skin like this, like blurring, slightly perfecting look without makeup, you can just use this. So this is a fantastic primer. I highly recommend this. So this is going to be my favorite for the primer category. Now for eye primers, my favorite is actually not a purchase from this year, so we're going to skip over that. We're going to go to under eye concealers, and this isn't a true under eye concealer. This is actually a complexion stick from Merit. This is in the shade Silk that I have here, and oops, mine broke. So yeah, it broke off at the end here. And let's see, it looks like I still have product in here, but I think the most of it just flew into my recycling bag. Yeah, this is just, kind of like what you have at the end there. So I do have to say though, the actual product, I really like. You can use this all over the skin. You can kind of use it as one of those concealers that you don't put all over, just like for like little patches and so forth. And for me, I also like to use it under the eye because it's not heavy. I can pat it out and it's a good shade for me. Okay, so I found the part that came off. I do have to say the packaging on this is not ideal, but I do actually really like the product. So, I don't know. Now that this kind of broke off, should it still be a favorite? That's really kind of hard to say here, but I do really like the way it works for me on the skin. And even though this has broken off, I'll still be able to use it. It's just going to be a little bit more careful. One of the issues I do have is the packaging on this. So as you can see, you've got it kind of split here and here. This is the part you turn on the bottom. This part comes off, but there's no way to distinguish between the 2 of these. So sometimes I'm pulling on the wrong end, and it is a tight seal, which is good. But, it does make it a little bit harder to figure out if you're pulling on the wrong side because you do need a lot of force to pull the cap off. Moving on to foundations. I actually have a few choices here. This is the Guerlain L'Essentiel Matte. This, I still have not seen this in the US, but I ordered mine from Selfridges, and I think this is the best matte foundation I have ever used. I like this one. I like this more than the Clé de Peau matte personally. and it's also a less expensive price compared to the Clé de Peau Radiant Fluid Matte Foundation. So this is my number one choice for matte foundations. However, I do really love this Clé de Peau Radiant Fluid Natural Foundation. This is coming to the US anytime now. I picked mine up from Harrods, and I think this is a really, really great foundation. I actually really like to mix this with the Clé de Peau Matte Foundation, but I love this on its own as well. And I also wanted to mention the Givenchy Prisma Libre Foundation, and I really like this. This is going to give you a natural glow to your skin. It has lighter coverage than the Clé de Peau foundation does. This can be built up, so you can build it up to a light medium. And I just think this is fantastic. Every time I wear one of these three foundations, I get a ton of compliments on my skin. And that's what I want when I'm wearing foundation. I want compliments on my skin and not compliments on my makeup. I mean, it's one thing to get compliments on like eyeshadow or lipstick, but you know what I mean? Like you want the foundation to make your skin look perfect and not look makeup-y. And I find that I get that with these three products. Moving on to powders. I don't know if I've picked up any loose powders this year. I couldn't find any that were new to 2021, but I do have a pressed powder I'd like to mention, and that is the Coque & Dough Brightening Moisture Powder in Brightening Pink. Now, this is a brightening powder. I mean, it is, kind of this like stark white. It gives a brightness to the skin. So you can actually use this more like as a subtle highlighter, or I like to kind of set kind of more like in the T-zone area here with this powder to just give a little bit of a brightening effect to my face without looking like blingy. You can see that, there's no sparkle or shimmer in this. So if you were to use this as a highlighter, it's really just to brighten that area of your face and not for, per se, like a true highlighter finish. But I really like this. I personally like to mix this with the blurring beige. So I'll put the pink kind of here and then the beige the rest of my face. So that way I'm essentially brightening the high points of my skin with the pink one. So I did want to mention this because I think it's a really great formula. It's a really nice product. Now, another powder-ish type product I wanted to mention are the Guerlain Meteorites. And they weren't available long, but this was from the spring collection. This is the Pearl Glow. They also came out with the pink pearl version, which you can use for blush. That's this one here. And I really love this one. I think it's great for blush and everything, but the Pearl Glow is the one that made it to my favorites. So the Pearl Glow is fairly similar to the light Meteorites. These are the light ones. So you can see that there is a little bit of a difference between the two of them, but they're pretty similar. I just find that I reach for the Pearl Glow all the time. So they've become my number one used Meteorites. And while we are talking about Meteorites, since they're kind of a highlighter, let's move into highlights. And my favorite highlighter that I picked up in 2021 is actually not a new product to 2021, but it's new to me. This is the Givenchy Teint Couture Shimmer Powder in 01 Shimmery Pink. And this is going to give your skin just a nice highlight. This particular shade, you can see is pink, but it's not like a super bright pink. It's the right tone for my skin. So I really love this. This would be my number one choice for highlighter in 2021 so far. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Makeup by Mario, actually, because I haven't reviewed that yet. I placed an order, ordered some things, really liked them, ordered the rest, and I will have that video up very soon. I'm working on it. But I do also really love the highlighter in Opal from the Makeup by Mario line as well. This one's gonna be a little bit more blingy. And this is the bright white one. So these are the two new ones that I have been loving. So while we're talking about Makeup by Mario, I would have to say that my favorite cream blush product are the Makeup by Mario sticks. They made it to number one. So not only number one for this year, but they're definitely, I haven't figured out my ranking, but they're definitely in the top 3 of cream blushes for me overall. I think they are fantastic. I won't dwell on these because I will have a full review with tons and tons of cheek swatches and everything coming up soon. But I did want to mention them because they're just that wonderful. I think everybody should be willing to try them. So take a look at the store. I think, when you look at them in the package, there's nothing super exciting or anything about them, but when you put them on, they look gorgeous. I have one of them on right now. I actually have the Makeup by Mario highlighter on and the blushes. So we'll talk about those in my review, but best cream blush for 2021 would be the Makeup by Mario. Now for powder blush, my number one is still this Sisley. So this is the Sisley Lafido blush that came out earlier this year. We have had so many fantastic blushes come out, and I have to say, I really do love them all. I will have my blush roundup video coming up, in a couple of weeks. I have to say, I really love the new Pat McGrath blushes. I love the Hermes blushes. I love these blushes. They are fantastic. I've also recently picked up the Givenchy Prisma Libre loose blushes. These are all products that I really love, and I would count them as favorites. But if I had to narrow it to just one, my favorite would be the Sisley Lafido blush. They're expensive, but I'll put it here. I really love the formula of these. It's kind of like a gel to powder kind of formula. And, you can make these really pigmented. You can blend them out. This one here is the shade number 5, Rosewood, which is my personal favorite. I find it to be, it's just a little bit more unique. The nuances in this particular shade are a little bit different from every other thing that I have for blushes. So this would have to be my number one powder blush. Moving on to bronzers. My very favorite bronzer is not from this year, so I'm not going to include that, but I haven't found a powder bronzer that I like better than that. However, I have fallen in love with the Chanel Le Beige bronzer in Deep Tan. Who would have thought that I would like the Deep Tan shade? But the reason I like this is because it is cooler in tone than the original shade. So you can see, there's still warmth in it and so forth. But this shade, if I blend this out, this would be my favorite cream bronzer from this year. Moving on to brows, we have the Surratt Expressioniste Brow Pomade in light brown. I've been using the clear one for a very long time, and now they have finally come out with different colors. And I have found that this is a fantastic brow pomade. It's really easy to just swipe it on. I usually take a spoolie and go through it afterwards, but the brow pomade, it really allows everything to just kind of stay in place. For me, I do have like a little bit, some sparse areas here, and that just kind of helps cover it. It's just a great product. So really love that. For mascara, my favorite from this year is the Sisley So Stretch, and I really like the brown shade. That's the only one I've tried, number 2, the deep brown. I love brown mascaras personally in general, and I really love the formula of this. This one here is an empty now, but I am hoping to pick up more of these when Nordstrom does their Mascara Madness, which is hopefully coming up soon. So this is definitely my number one mascara. I tested a ton of mascaras this year. So, check out that mascara ranking video if you're interested. But this one, it's my personal favorite. Now for eyeshadows, I can't narrow it down to just one. However, we do have one with a new formula that's fantastic. And those are going to be the new SUQQU Signature Color Eye Quads. And they released 6 new shades that are permanent, and they've had a couple of collections with limited edition quads as well. And I have to say, I really love them. So on my eyes right now, I have the first limited edition quad that came out, which is number 101. I love this quad. It was not easy to get. You know, for me, I was lucky enough I was able to get it one of the times that they restocked, but it was just so difficult to order these. And you know, at the time when these came out, the UK was shut down. They were in lockdown, stores were closed. So normally I can call like the SUQQU counter at Selfridges and I can, you know, have them set things aside and pay for them that way over the counter. But since they were shut down, you know, I had to take my chances online and like truly stock everything. It was hard. So I absolutely love the palette. You know, I'm happy that I have it, but it is sad that it was so hard to do. If I had to pick one quad from the permanent collection, my very favorite would be this one, 06. But, you know, I have three that I absolutely love from the permanent collection. I mean, I like all of them, but my top three would be this one, 06, and then we also have the 01 and the 03, which was the first quad that I held up. And I think this is a great color story. It's very neutral. It's just really beautiful. Now with SUQQU, again, they've had quite a few limited edition quads that came out as well. And there are some that I really love. If they were permanent, I would include them more in the favorites, something like this, the 104. I think this is a gorgeous quad. The 102, I think it is, which is a pink quad, which really surprised me. I didn't think I'd like this one so much. But those are some favorites as well. But again, really hard to get those. Moving on, we have a couple of other limited edition eyeshadow palettes that I'd like to mention as favorites. And that's gonna be Dior's 639 Blooming Bouquet. Again, this is one that wasn't around very long. And then Pink Sakura, number 849. This was around an even shorter period of time. But I have to say they are fantastic. So the new Dior Romantic Voyage quad is fairly similar. You know, I think you don't need all of these. If you miss these two, I think Romantic Voyage is worth a look. I do have a video that compares those. You can check those out. But I would definitely put these particular palettes in my favorites for 2021. And another eyeshadow palette standout to me is actually the Byredo Disco palette. And the formula on this is very, very creamy. It holds up super well. I mean, look at the shimmer and finish on these, yet it's not like sparkly. It's definitely, you know, one of my favorite formulas. I feel like, you know, all of their palettes, they've been slightly different texturally. This one is closest to Sciomancer in my opinion. This color story is really easy. You know, I thought it might be too warm for me, but it actually looks gorgeous on the eyes. And it's one of my favorites. Definitely one of my favorite purchases of 2021. Now there have been quite a few eyeshadow palettes that I absolutely love that are definitely favorites. I reach for them quite a bit and I purchased them during 2021. But what I really wanted to focus on here are some standout products, and that's going to be the Jones Road singles. So my favorite single shadow from this year would be the Jones Road. I think the formula of these is really nice. This one here is the shade Patina, and she has shimmers and mattes, and I really like these. And all of the shades are very neutral. She doesn't have any like wild or crazy colors or anything like that. The Dior Monos, they've got some nice colors that came out. I really like those as well, but these actually won out over them when I'm trying to narrow it down. Now for eyeliners, my favorite new eyeliners are probably not a surprise, but the new formula of the Chanel Stylo Yeux waterproof eyeliners. I find these to be so much better than the old ones. You know, at first it doesn't seem like they are quite that different, but the more you wear them, the more you realize that not only are these a creamier texture going on, but for me, they perform better. So with the previous ones, it was always hit or miss as to how they would work in the waterline. whether they would fade. Some of them were a little drier and crumblier. All of these are creamy going on. They all work for me in the water. Well, I haven't tried all 14 of them on the waterline yet, but I've tried at least 5 so far, and they've all worked and held up all day in the waterline, wherever I put them, in the rain, in the heat and humidity. So I'm very impressed with the formula, and I really have been enjoying these a lot. So they're my number 1 pencil eyeliner. Now, my number 1 liquid eyeliner, I kind of have a toss up here. So number 1 is actually this UZ liner, and I've only tried this one shade so far. I got the light blue because I thought that was interesting. They have wild and crazy colors. They also have lots of neutrals. For example, they have a series of blacks, which are like tinted blacks with different like brown blacks, burgundy blacks, and blue blacks, and things like that. So they've got a lot of neutrals. They've got a lot of bright colors, but the actual applicator on this is incredible. So it's a brush tip, and these are made, as close to like a true like calligraphy pen as possible. They're fantastic, super easy to use. I'm terrible with wing liner, but these are the easiest to use I've ever used. And then next up for liquid eyeliners would actually be the SUQQU liquid liners, which would be my number 2. So these are really easy to use as well. They're felt tip instead. And this is the one I have on my eyes today. This is 103, which is a limited edition shade, but they have a 03, a gray shade that is, let me show you that. That's this one here. So that one, that's actually permanent. It's out of stock a lot, but I absolutely love them. So I think both of these are really easy to use, even if you are terrible with wings like I am. And we've got felt tip versus brush tip, so it's really a personal preference there. And colors, which colors you are looking for. So I had to include both of them because they give you so many options. Moving on to lip liners. My favorite new lip liner for this year is actually the Sweet Coral from Sisley. This is a new shade in their lip liner line. I love the formula of these. They are very expensive, so I only have this one and another shade. But this coral shade I just think is absolutely perfect for, well, so many things. So it's like a pinky coral. It's not too orange, which allows it to work really well with my coloring. And I think it goes super well with one of my favorite lipsticks. So that is the Hermes number 52 Coral Aqua. Just put that right next, well, that doesn't really work so well. Let me put it over here so you can see it better. So here's the lipstick and then the lip liner. You can see that they go fairly well together. And this has made it to one of my favorite lipsticks for 2021. I really wanted to narrow it down. I've gotten so many great lipsticks. We've had the Chanel Rouge Coco Blooms, great formula. Definitely think of trying those. We've had the Chanel, the Locks. Dark Blossom is a favorite shade. We've had the new Burberry lipsticks. We've had new shades from SUQQU, new shades from Chanel, new shades from Dior. Everybody has come out with tons and tons of new lip products. I have lots of love for pretty much all of them. But if I had to narrow it down to one favorite new lipstick, I would go with the Guerlain Kiss Kiss Shine Bloom lipsticks. I love this formula. There is a fragrance to it. It's not overwhelming. It dissipates very quickly for me. I don't even know how many of these I have now. I have a lot of these because I just love them so much. They're more of that balmy type lipstick. Let's see, where should we put this? I can squeeze it in here. So we've got this like balm type lipstick, but it lasts fairly well. I mean, it has average wear time, but you do get some pigment remaining on your lips. They've got light colors, they've got bright colors. And one of the good things about this balmy lipstick style, it's not sticky on the lips, and yet it's not oily. It doesn't migrate. So I don't have to use a lip liner with this if I don't want to. And I find them very comfortable, and I love all of the shades. The shades that they've used in this, a lot of lipstick lines, they lean, for example, the new ones from Chanel, for the most part, all of their lighter shades have leaned very, very warm. and their darker shades have been on the cooler range, but they haven't had quite as many, cool options in the lighter shades and warmer options in the darker shades. It hasn't gone both ways. Whereas I feel like these all are much more neutral. They've got shades that lean cool, they've got shades that lean warm, but overall I would classify them for the most part as neutral shades. So I find, that to be just very refreshing, and it works better for me. I also like the packaging on these. I find them comfortable to hold, and yeah, so they are my number one lipstick for this year. And again, I had to mention the Coral Aqua. This is a special for me. This is my favorite bright pop of color. Absolutely love it. So these are going to be my number ones. My other favorite lip liner for this year is a neutral. So this, well, it's not really a neutral, it's a rose. But for me, it's just like a great everyday shade. So it's this one here. This is the Givenchy in number 8, Perma Silhouette. And since I purchased this, I've been using this one almost every day. So it has become my go-to formula, or my go-to lip liner for a daily wear here. So previously, I also really use the Pat McGrath Done Undone and Half Naked quite a bit. This is going to be a little bit of a drier formula than the Pat McGrath. It's not quite as creamy feeling going on, but it holds up so well. And if you're somebody who's looking for something, maybe not quite as emollient for a lip liner, this is a great option. Now, that's not to say that it's not a creamy, easy to glide on lip liner. It is. I'm just saying that, it has a little bit more, it can stay put a little bit more. It's not quite as creamy on the lip lines. So I love both of them. They're both great formulas. They are both go-tos for me. But I definitely have been reaching for this one a ton. So this, along with the Sisley Sweet Coral, those are going to be my two favorite lip liners for 2021. And that sums up my makeup favorites for the first half of 2021. And thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to hear what have been your favorites so far. Again, I have so many other items that I count as favorites, but I really wanted to narrow this video down and be succinct as possible to really give my very top, one or two favorites per category. So hopefully I was able to accomplish that. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure to leave them down below or DM me on Instagram. I'm at Alexis Jong. And also don't forget to check out everyswatch.com. Sign up there if you haven't already. So all the information for that is on the website. Essentially, it's a little preview site, and we are hoping to launch that later this year, but we need to garner interest. So sign up if you haven't already, share it with your friends and family, so anybody who is interested can let us know. And thank you so much. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.